welcome to another episode of Wow Can Cook, and today we are making Dr. Gloria's sweet and sour meatloaf, or you can make them into meatballs. Hi, Dr. Gloria, how's it going today?
Hi, sweetie. Well, it's a nice, chilly, rainy day, but I love hearing the rain, so I'm just kind of buckled up here. So how are you doing?
Good. I have rain. I love rain. I went on a hike in rain yesterday.
Did you? I love the rain, yes. And it clears the air and the energy and everything. It gives us that wonderful ozone, which we need. So, okay, what you got? We've got a wonderful recipe today, don't we?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so here's the thing. Most of you have made a meatloaf at some time in your life. This recipe is for meatloaf or any kind of meatballs, even if you want to make the little tiny cocktail meatballs. The sauce is what makes them. I usually mix my meat the night before, like everything else. Tracy's probably going, oh God, here she goes. But because everything blends better, but you're going to do it so everybody can see what you're doing. The first step is that a chef friend of mine, he's cordon bleu trained, said that you don't enjoy the meatballs or the meatloaf as well when you don't chop the meat. It's already ground, but you chop it up as much as you can so that when you're eating the meatballs or the meatloaf, you don't get big chunks. So that's what Tracy's doing now, right? You're going to chop it up?
I haven't started doing anything yet. I'm just listening. So what's the first step?
First step is go ahead and chop your meat. Just chop it, crosswise and whatever, as much as you can, just to get it where there's not big chunks when you put the meatloaf together. It just makes a nicer taste and a nicer texture.
I have never chopped ground meat before, I'll tell you that.
You're doing fine. And if it doesn't chop good, it depends on the knife. Yeah, then hold your hand down and kind of do it like we do like this, Tracy. Hold it down like you would be doing it in a big cleaver. There you go. And that should help you so you don't do it so much.
Okay.
It's hard on the wrist if you don't do it. Yeah, that works better. Is it chopping it small?
It looks pretty choppy.
Okay. So now let's mix the ingredients into the meatloaf first. So we've got, let me get to the meat mixture. You're going to put in chopped onions.
Here's my chopped onions. I add it to a bowl.
Yeah, just add it to a big bowl.
Okay.
Okay, then add your garlic.
Oh, I have my onions and my garlic.
Okay, good. Yeah, I do that too. Parsley, do you have parsley?
Yep, from my herb garden.
I figured, I'm jealous. And breadcrumbs, what kind are you using? I usually use gluten-free panko, but you can use any kind of breadcrumbs.
Okay, so for my panko, I always use ground pork rinds.
Oh my God, that sounds so good. Okay, so you've got the pork rinds, and then you just mix it really well to combine it first.
So I usually use yet.
No, mix it first and then add the meat, because you got to mix the herbs and all that together first. Otherwise, it's really hard to mix with the meat.
Okay, so I'm mixing the onions and garlic and the panko and the parsley.
Correct.
All right. And now
I'm going to give you a little hint. It's not in the recipe, but you're Italian, so you'll appreciate this. If you put a little bit of Parmesan in there, it's amazing. So if you wanted to put a pinch of Parmesan, you could, but the recipe doesn't say that, okay?
Okay, well, I don't have it prepared, so I would have to grind it.
Okay, so take your meat now and mix it in really well. So that this is what I would do the night before that I'm going to make a meatloaf, so that everything is well blended. You don't have to. For many, many years, I didn't. I just did what Tracy's doing and popped it in the oven. We're going to do it a little different today that I found works really well, and the taste is amazing.
Okay, so I use my hands to mix meatloaf.
I do too, but I usually have a glove on, but that's just for your family, so it doesn't matter.
It's just for my husband and I. We're empty nesters now.
That's right.
How
many years did you wait for that? 30 some years to wait for that?
Yeah, over 30 years. So.
Okay, so just mix it really well. Now I'm going to show you a trick. It's all mixed. Okay, so now.
I don't do much in advance because the charm of the show is me seeing if I get the ingredients right.
Right, right. So you can go ahead and do the sauce now. Okay, so I recommend in the recipe that you buy, unless you want to go through a lot of, because we can't have just ketchup. It's a inflammation inducing. To buy the sauces at KC Naturals, that stands for Kansas City. The only two places I have found them, Tracy, is at Amazon and at Thrive Market, which I buy online because I'm a member. That's the only places I found them. KC Naturals does not sell them directly anymore, but you can go to their website. It's amazing with great recipes. They took all the work out of having to cook the sauce for hours and reduce it and all that. So their Mascadone, which is such a weird name, Mascadone barbecue sauce is what I used for this. So you're going to make it basically from scratch. So you've got your base, which is your ketchup, and it can be carob, it can be the gluten-free or the nightshade-free one. And you're going to put in, I've got to find my, here's the Mascadone. You're going to put in 1 tablespoon of dark molasses.
Okay, dark molasses.
Now you're going to add some fresh parsley if you have some more.
No, I have it all in there.
Okay, that's okay. And that's why this is just a guide, remember. Now, what are you going to use for a sweetener? I use sugar in the raw. I use the brown sugar in the raw, but you can use monk fruit as well. That's up to you.
Coconut sugar.
Perfect. Go ahead and put in your coconut sugar. And I have 2 tablespoons in the recipe, so go ahead and put it in.
Okay.
And then 3 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar. Now, the prepared mustard. I use that powdered Coleman's mustard. Is that what you have?
No,
Perfect.
I just have regular mustard.
Okay, well, the flavor is very different. If you haven't
Okay.
used the powdered mustard, it's very different because it's
Okay.
sharp and it's the sweet and sour. So don't substitute until you've tried it with the dry mustard.
Well, you didn't say dried mustard. It says prepared mustard.
I said I prefer Coleman's brand. So
Right. Well, I thought that was just a brand of mustard.
prepared mustard. Sorry. No, it's the dry. It really does make a difference.
Okay, so when I submit this recipe, I'm going to edit it.
Okay.
It says
So 3
dried mustard.
Okay, 3 teaspoons.
Well, it's a tablespoon.
Okay. And
Okay.
then liquid smoke, 1 to 2 teaspoons. Okay, so stir that up. That is your basic sauce. Now, we have one other thing that we need to add to that, and that is that you need to whip up 2 large eggs. Just whip them up in another little bowl or, measuring cup or whatever.
I use these Pyrex measuring cups all the time.
I do too, but I like the big one like you have. I have 3 or 4 of the big ones, the 4 cuppers. I like plenty of room to whip things.
Whip it good.
Whip it good. Whip it good. Add a little bit of air to that, baby. Just whip it.
Okay.
Okay, now dump it into the meat mixture and mix it again. And then add some salt and pepper. So it's hard to judge that. So don't do too much. You can always add a little bit later, but do get some salt and pepper in there. Remember that, like, if you didn't put any salt at all and you cooked it, the meatloaf will not absorb the sauce the same. I mean, the salt the same. It literally kind of just sits there and it doesn't have a lot of flavor. So always add some, and then you can add some later, but put it in the mixture. There you go. Nice ooey gooey.
Okay, now it's like all mushy and gooey and
ooey gooey. That's what my boys used to say when I'd mix it up for meatballs.
Yep, it's definitely ooey gooey.
Okay, so now you got the ooey gooey going. Now, I want you to put in just, like 2 or 3 tablespoons of the sauce mixture. Put it into the mix and mix it again.
Hand.
Okay.
1. Okay, 2.
2. 1 more.
3. Okay.
Okay, now mix it in real well. And then we're ready to put it into a loaf pan or however you're going to make it. Have you ever made it in meatloaf in cupcake tins? It's really fun.
No.
Because then people have individual little meatloaves, and I've done it that way when I serve it to guests, and it's really nice.
That's
it's a good idea to give individual little meatloaves.
Well, I prepared
and a cupcake
usual pan. So.
What kind of pan?
Just a glass Pyrex.
Okay, that's fine. Now flatten it, get it even in the pan so that it cooks even, and then I'm going to tell you what to do.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't want it all in the center. Yeah, there you go. Flatten it so that it gets in and it forms a nice loaf. Is it a good consistency? It doesn't seem too watery or too?
No, it's good.
Okay, now take the back of a wooden spoon and you're going to make holes in it.
Ah, okay, it looks
Okay.
even. So I've got the end of a wooden
Okay.
spoon.
Okay, so now just make like 2 rows of holes all the way down to the bottom and make a nice even row. Go
How
across
many holes
like
in each
this.
row?
Here, I would say maybe 3, that's enough. 3 or 4, I can't tell.
Too late, 3.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, you got some in the center too? Got to have it all down the low, like in a line, honey. Okay, now you're going to take your sauce and you're going to pour a small amount because you want some sauce later. You're going to pour sauce in the holes.
Ah.
And then save some more sauce so that later on you put it in like the last 10 minutes when the meatloaf is already cooked. You put more on top and stick it back in the oven and it gets crusty and delicious and thick. So you want those holes to put the sauce in.
And then that's all, I only put them on the holes.
Yep, you only put it on the holes. You're going to put the rest of it on top. And I'm a saucy doctor, so I like a lot of sauce. So I usually will put it on the top at the end of the cooking cycle, and then I warm up some more and kind of cook it a little bit in the saucepan, and I pour more on mine when I put it over my mashed cauliflower or mashed white sweet potatoes because I love the sauce. So you've done it.
So
And
then
this is where you can get
the oven.
You just put it in the oven, and I think it's 350. Let me look and make sure.
Yeah. For how
Yeah,
long?
350 for about 45 minutes to an hour. So you have a gas oven, probably, I would say an hour to be, well, no, 45 minutes, and then we'll put the sauce on, Tracy.
Okay, it's set for 45 minutes.
Okay, so at 45 minutes, and we'll come back when it's cooked, then you're going to spoon the sauce. Do you guys like a lot of sauce?
I don't. My husband would.
Okay, so just put a lot of sauce on top, not the whole thing. Put a lot of sauce on top. And then if he would want, for instance, more sauce like I do, after the meatloaf is cooled a little where you can slice it, I put it on my plate, like usually over mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, or the cauliflower potatoes. And then I pour more sauce on top, and it's like a gravy then on the potatoes. It's delicious. So you don't have to use all that. You can warm the rest, or you can, whatever you need to do with it. But you can also use it just on cauliflower rice, or you don't eat rice, but if you were eating rice, you could put that over regular rice. It's really good. And the more it sits, like tomorrow, that sauce will be better. So, okay, 45 minutes. So now after it's cooked, 45 minutes, we'll put that on and put it on for another 15 minutes. Okay.
Okay, and then
Was the
we'll
oven
come back and do our taste test. Okay, I just took this out of the oven. It tested at 167, so it's cooked. And I'm pouring about half the sauce, maybe a little less, back on here. I don't like too much sauce, but this is good because it's tangy. I don't like sweet sauce, but this one's tangy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in the oven for about 10 or 15 minutes. And we're back. All right, so here is the beautiful creation.
And you see how you see how some of the sauce came to the top as well?
Well, I poured it all on the top.
Oh, you did it on the top. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I baked it for about 37 minutes, checked the meat thermometer, and it was ready. So I pulled it off and I spread the sauce on it. And now I'm just going to cut a small amount and taste it.
Okay.
So, because I'm going to save it for dinner with hubby.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, now here's the
Okay,
moment.
don't burn yourself like you have in the past.
No, it's been out for like 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Mmm, that's good.
So do you get the sweet and sour? Because that's the goal, is to have both. Kind of like when you eat a sweet and sour sauce, it's Asian. You get both of those blends. Are you getting that?
Yes, I am, and I like it. I was afraid it was going to be too sweet, to be honest.
I know you well enough.
No,
But you see
it's
now
really
why,
good.
good, but you see why it's important to use the dry mustard, which I think you're going to change so that it's on there, because the dry mustard gives that tang that makes it nice for the sweet and sour. If you used a processed mustard, it doesn't do that, because I've done it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I had the, what do you call it? That coarse grain mustard, which I love.
Hmm.
And I used it one time because I didn't have the dry mustard. It's nowhere near the same. So the dry mustard is what gives it that little zang. That if you want it a little spicier, you just put more in.
Oh,
Okay?
really? I didn't know that dry mustard was spicy. Is it like
Oh
wasabi?
yeah. Pardon?
Is it kind of like wasabi?
Kind of. Yeah. It would be a little bit like wasabi because it's like, whoa, you put too much. For instance, if you use a mustard sauce on an egg roll, because I make the rice egg rolls, and I mix a little uh, Bragg's amino acids or soy sauce of some kind, and that's gluten free, of course. And then I put a little bit of that in it. It gets too hot if I'm not careful. So that's a
Oh,
nice way to add a little zing to it and still a little spiciness without having to use anything that's in the nightshade family. That's why the dry mustard is important.
okay. Well,
Okay.
that is delicious. I really, really do like it. And I have to admit, I was nervous because I don't
I
love sweet
know.
stuff, but we made it work for me too because we used the pork rind panko instead of the breadcrumbs.
Right.
Lowered the carbohydrates on that. And so,
Yeah, well, now you've got me curious. I've got some pork rinds, so I'm going to try it the next time I make the meatloaf. That sounds great. So
yeah,
just remember, if you've got extra sauce, which you do in this case, since it's so good, you might want to try it on some steamed vegetables, or you might want to try it on some of your zoodles or something like that. It's delicious. It's got
yeah.
that little bit of a barbecue. How's the smoke flavor? Did it give it that barbecue flavor?
Well, I wasn't looking for it.
Okay, so
Let me
go
try
back for
one more time to
seconds.
see. I was excited to have that liquid smoke.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. It changes everything.
Mm.
Now, can you detect it?
I just put two and two together. Normally, when you make meatloaf, you don't make a barbecue type sauce. So this is like completely different
It is.
because it's sweet and sour instead of more just like sweet.
Exactly. And that's why I knew you'd like it, but I knew you were hesitant because you don't do the sweet. But it's really tasty. And like I said, I've had leftover steamed cauliflower or zoodles, or just zucchini that I've sliced up and steamed and then poured that over it with my mashed potatoes, which I'm addicted to, whether it's cauliflower or white. I don't want to eat too many carbs. I don't eat the white sweet potatoes more than a couple times a week at the most. But it's delicious on them. Instead of a gravy, it's really good. Even if you have a piece of chicken, put that in the chicken when you're browning it like a chicken thigh. Use the same sauce. It's a barbecue sauce, just made very simple.
Okay, well, I'll do that. And I will actually um do the barbecue chicken with it. That sounds really, really good. You know what I used to make that was amazing is I know that it's not gonna be up your alley, but you take chicken and you bake it with barbecue sauce and then you top it with cheddar cheese
Yeah.
and chopped up tomatoes and chopped up onions.
Well, see, all but the tomatoes, I would love to do that. And that's the whole thing. You've got a homemade barbecue sauce that's different because you don't expect barbecue to be sweet and sour, right?
Yeah,
Just sweet.
good.
Yeah. So that's why think of some other ways to use it because it is a lot of sauce. But when you start using it, you realize it's really not that much. Like your hubby may want to slice and warm up a little bit of that sauce, let it just bubble, and then pour some more on top on whatever else he's having with it. That's great.
Okay.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Cool.
Good.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
until next time, everyone, bon appetit. Thank you,
Bon
Dr.
appetit.
Gloria.
You're welcome, dear heart. Thanks for being a good sport.
Okay, bye for
Okay.
now, everyone.
Bye-bye.